Take a look at the finances, maybe, Adam. How likely is it, do you think, that they'd actually trade?
Well, first and foremost, I think when you talk to people around the league, they say that the situation is even worse than what is being portrayed in the public. So we get an idea of what goes on behind closed doors. We in the public have an idea of some of these things. But it's gotten to the point where I think a lot of people around the league believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers will be open to trading Antonio Brown, who has not requested a trade, but you see some of the money's there. He's due a $2.5 million roster bonus on the 5th day of the 2019 league year, which will be March 18th. So really, that's your unofficial deadline. They have up until the 5th day. Now, they could agree to make a trade for Antonio Brown today if they want. Remember the Washington Redskins trading for Alex Smith at the Super Bowl last year. But it cannot be processed. It cannot become official until the new league year begins on March 13th. The money is such that, yes, there would be a cap hit of $21+ million. But you'd have money that comes off the books. And while you're eating that money, cap is not as important as cash, actual cash outlay. You can always make the cap work. You can always restructure more contracts, get more people to redo deals. You can do anything you want with the cap. Cash is a bigger issue. Cash is not a concern here. And so for that reason alone.
So it's doable. It's doable.
It's absolutely doable. There are people who believe it's doable. He's 31 years old. We just saw the Dallas Cowboys give up a first-round draft pick for Amari Cooper, who is not as productive, who is not as accomplished as Antonio Brown, who's had 7 straight seasons of 100+ yard catches. He's had unparalleled production, but he's 31. The contract is friendly. Contract is friendlier, being that Pittsburgh's paid him his guaranteed money. The cap number would be like $12 million for the next 3 years. So, again, he'd be attractive to other teams. There will be teams that will have some level of interest. I think in the end, the Pittsburgh Steelers get back, let's say, a first-round pick that the Cowboys gave up for a 24-year-old wide receiver in Amari Cooper. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depending on how many teams are involved.
I'll believe that when I see it.
Yeah.
If they were to really get rid of, he's their best offensive player. I know Juju Smith-Schuster was the team MVP. That probably upset Antonio a little bit also, but he was very productive. Juju, can he be the number one? But you saw this year how Le'Veon Bell was not there. Connor came in and he did the job, all right? You got your back there for the future. But what happened when Connor went down? That's when you started to see a little bit of a difference. They still were productive and won, but having no Connor hurt them. So if AB's gone, Juju's number one. Now your depth is just affected. This team is.
Yeah, you know what? We need to pump the Steelers need to pump the brakes before we start thinking about trading AB right now. Listen, I think I know everything's a little volatile right now, but maybe they need to step back from this and then say, okay, look, we've already lost Le'Veon Bell. We're losing him. We're going to lose possibly our best player on the football team in Antonio Brown because we had a fallout. Let's figure some things out. Now, I'm all for it, understanding that Antonio Brown needs to be disciplined. There needs to be some discipline here. But when we start talking about trading,
you said the right word. You said the right word, and that's emotions.
Yes.
Everybody's emotional right now.
Yes. Let's
Steeler fans, the Steeler players. We didn't make the playoffs. All of the drama that went in. If I'm a Steeler player, I just want to say, I want out of here and fix it, Coach.
Yeah.
You do your job. I'm gonna do mine, which is go hit the golf course and get on vacation.
This is not just about what happened last week.
all right.
This is about an accumulation of incidents. This is about an accumulation of relationships. This is about a larger body of work than just last week, okay? It didn't just happen. We're not saying that a trade is possible based off one incident from last week. We're talking about other incidents from other years. And you say, okay, what about the depth? And again, his production is unparalleled. I want to say that. He's one of the 2 or 3 best wide receivers in the game. But every team in time transitions to younger players, and they go on, and they've got Juju, and they've got Eli Rogers, and they've got James Washington, and no team in the league has done a better job of drafting wide receivers, developing wide receivers than the Pittsburgh Steelers. You don't replace that production, but you can find somebody else to help fill the void.
You just said it. You can find someone. No.
Production's one thing, but if you listen to what you're talking about emotion. Yeah. If you listen to Mike Tomlin and what he said, and he brought up darkest hour in terms of our darkest hour, and then he was not there. Darkest hour, I hear last straw. This was it. The straw that broke the camel's back. I just can't take it anymore. And as leaders in the locker rooms, at times, it's like, Coach, we'll handle it. Yeah. We'll handle it. Don't worry, we'll get this guy right. But there comes a time, leaders in the locker room, like Darren and I, look to the coach and say, you know what, you do your job now. Right? You do your job and handle this because he's out of control. And Tomlin did that. He sat him for the Bengal game. I mean, in a game where they needed that he couldn't handle it and sat him. So now, what are you doing in the offseason?
How would this go down in New England, Teddy? I mean, something like this happens in New England. What will go down?
He would have been traded a year and a half ago, is how this would have happened. It never would have gotten to this point. He would have been out of there by now because Belichick would have seen where this was going based on his behavior. He would have talked to his veteran leadership and saying, it's coming out of control here. All right, we're losing, or he's getting off the rails. And then he would eventually got rid of him before it got to the point where you got to a game and it's your darkest hour, and now you can't play him because he's done enough to that's the word is conduct detrimental to your team that you just can't have him out there because he's that much of a distraction.
Okay, what's the window of opportunity for this football team with Ben Roethlisberger? How many more years are we talking about?
Maybe one.
Maybe 1 year left. I mean, so you're going to let AB go. We're going to let AB go. And we're going to say Juju's our guy, and then Washington and whatever, without Le'Veon Bell. So we're going to basically get rid of our two best players, and we're going to say we have the opportunity to win a championship with Ben Roethlisberger in 1 year. It's not happening that way, fellas. This window of opportunity is falling. If you let AB go, then Ben's going to be gone the next year, and now here we go all over again, starting all over. I just
you got to think too. You got to think too. You got young players that are so that are borderline special. Okay, James Conner's a good player. I don't want him to continually see this. Because I don't know James, all right, but it seems like this is a guy that does it the right way. Right? Mm-hmm. You're the type of guy that we want in this locker room, leading this team, your story, your leadership, what you've been for that community, and we want this to be the new norm, and we want this out.
How many times?
I never did now. No.
But how many times, Teddy, have you seen New England move on from a star player for different reasons, albeit Richard Seymour or Chandler Jones or any player that you could come up with? There have been some great players that New England has dispatched over the years, right? People find it so hard to imagine a star like Antonio Brown, who's so great at what he does, that a team could actually move on from them. But they can and they do. This happens. That's the NFL.
Yeah. Well, I just think that at some point you got to sit back as an organization and say, okay, let the smoke clear a little bit. Let's think with clear heads, and let's not make an emotional decision, and let's figure this out.
Don't you think he has planned something? Like,
keep hearing
part of this is him wanting out of there, too.
I keep hearing that word darkest hour, and I think Tomlin's had enough. That's all I remember. That's all I can't get that out of my mind of hearing that and hearing him say that at that point where it's all on the line, man, we still don't want you. We still don't need you to play.
Yeah.
Agents calling me and telling me that you can play. It's not on the menu.
I'm in no way.
There's a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
I'm in no way done talking about this, but it's my job, so we got to do this. So this is the pass catcher spotlight. Big wild card weekend. Believe it or not, there's still some teams out fighting for a ring. So let's go to the best pass catcher with the best matchup. Teddy, did you figure out who it is?
I'll start it. Okay, I'm going to start. T.Y. Hilton has done incredible things versus the Texans this year. That's obvious. So the 863 pass yards versus the Texans this season. So he's going to be my matchup. They've tried pressing him with Jonathan Joseph.
Didn't work.
They tried being off.
Didn't work.
They tried being deep on play action pass.
Didn't work.
Weren't deep enough. So this has got to be my matchup. I mean, something's got to be done, but in the past, based on what I've seen, this has got to be a good matchup, right? T.Y.
And I'm going to go worst matchup. I'm going to go with Zach Ertz. You know, you look at Zach Ertz, and he's had a great season, but now going up against the Chicago Bears defense, who find ways to get balls out, find ways to cover you extremely well on the underneath routes. I think there's going to be so much pressure on Nick Foles. He's not going to have time to get the ball to Zach Ertz this week. Zach Ertz is going to have the worst matchup this week.
Okay, I'm going X factor here, and I'm going to go with the Baltimore Raven passing attack from Lamar Jackson. Yes, the passing attack, but off of play action. And watch the Baltimore tight ends versus the Los Angeles Chargers. All of these linebackers and safeties are going to be enamored by the run game by LJ. The boots, the RPOs are going to be the ones where Boyle or Hurst, Andrews making plays like this. They're going to have to react off of this, and it's going to be tough to do.
And with that, Andrews can run too. Adam, what about a storyline you're watching with a pass catcher?
Listen, Hunter Henry's been practicing with the Chargers, and they're not ready to proclaim him back yet, but I'm told he's expected to play. It won't be on a full-time basis, but he is expected to have some type of role, and when he is out there, he is a difference maker, and he can make a difference in this game. Tore up his knee in May, will make it back this season. That'll be quite a story and quite a big boost for the Chargers on Sunday.
It's been the year of the offense. That means It's been the year for the pass catchers. These are the top 5 plays for pass catchers in 2018. We say it because it can be a tight end.
That's a
Look at
grab.
Hopkins. Go get this. Week 8 against the Dolphins. What a catch.
Oh, that was beautiful. Left-handed as well. Oh, that is between the legs. Held on to that. What a
ref
catch.
called this offensive pass interference. Come on.
What's on the line?
What a game that will be. So in a league obsessed with aerial acrobatics, this game may be old school with a little twist. Zeke Elliott finished as the NFL's top rusher while Seattle led all teams in rushing yards. This will be the 5th postseason meeting between the leading individual rusher and the leading rushing team. And just because we're here, we'll tell you that the individual rushing team has won the previous 4 matchups. That means Zeke Elliott, that means the Cowboys have a little advantage if you buy into all of the hype. Whatever you want to call that stuff.
What was that?
So we'll get this thing a lot. It was a lot. That's a good way to put it. So we'll welcome you in now. If it's going to be old school football, we're going to get into our running back spotlight. We'll start it with Wood. How about the best matchup for a back?
We just talked about him. The NFL leading rusher in Ezekiel Elliott. He's the one he's the catalyst of this football team with this Cowboys offense. You got to get him the ball early and often in this football game. And it's not just the running game. It's the dump off game. It's in the passing game. It's the screen game. Ezekiel Elliott is the catalyst of this football team offensively. And the Seattle Seahawks will have trouble stopping him in this running game.
All right, solid defense in Baltimore. That's why I'm choosing. My worst matchup is Melvin Gordon of the Los Angeles Chargers going up against that Raven defense. They stop the run. They pride themselves on stop the run because they hunt. It's like we can't rush the passer until we stop the run, and they don't let running backs get going. They get in the gaps. They penetrate. They do not allow a lot of yards after contact. Good tacklers too. Melvin Gordon's going to have a tough day against that Raven D.
Well, X factor, what are you looking at?
That's going to be Tariq Cohen for the Chicago Bears going up against this Philly defense. You know, the Philly defense is great at pass rush. We talked about that earlier in the show. They get up the field. They get to the quarterback. One thing that can hurt them is a guy like Tariq Cohen in one-on-one situations matched up against a linebacker, whether it be in a screen game or spreading him out wide. Find the mismatch with this young fellow. He'll make big plays for you.
There you go. Adam, how about a running back storyline as we go into Wild Card Weekend?
You know, we're talking about Ezekiel Elliott. He's a great running back, one of the best in the game. But Chris Carson, in the last 3 games,
he runs hard.
has run between for 116 and 122 yards per game. 3 straight 100-plus yard games, 4 touchdowns over the last 3 games. You see the 357 combined rushing yards. We mentioned Seattle as a team running the football more and better than anybody, and he's the man leading the way. Powerful, tough to bring down, and the anti-Zeke in this game.
So this is our top 5 running back plays from 2018 as we start the new year. Look at this hurdle. Zeke goes up and over. He may be the best hurdler in football. What do you think?
No, he is. He can get up. That's what he did in high school. He was a hurdler in high school. But
Gurley's up there. Yeah,
He's
Yeah,
up there.
Gurley's up.
He's up there.
But you know what? I'd like to see him do this. Finish that run.
Stay on your feet.
Stay on your feet.
Stay on your
brother.
feet.
Nick Chubb making a little name. This is a 92-yard touchdown back in Week 10 against the Falcons. This is the longest run in Browns franchise history, believe it or not.
Man, speed, power.
I didn't know Chubb could run like this.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was that fast.
Yeah, he may need a little sip of water, but
Yeah, he can roll, man. Oh, he's out front of
Clear
him.
linebacker.
Yeah, a couple linebackers. Yeah.
They have some building
DBs at? Where
They
the
got some
DBs?
building blocks in Cleveland.
They do.
so we'll take you now all the way back. Week
Oh,
1.
here we go.
Let's go.
Jags
Let's see
said he
some of my
just
guys.
take
We got
this
1
thing
missed
away.
tackle, 2 missed tackles. Go ahead. Zoom. Turn it on.
Yeah.
Missed that one too. It's my guy right here. Look at that, Darren.
Yeah, he's balling now. I got to give you that. You've been on him all year.
Got to go Saquon, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
There you go. First NFL game. This was
Now look at it.
68-yard touchdown.
On the sideline right
First
there.
of
Right
history.
there. Stay in bounds on that one, man. That's